If you cannot extract wisdom from fictional stories, then you cannot extract wisdom from real life. The vast majority of real life wisdom, where is it going to be located? It is going to be located in stories, real life stories. This story of your life, different chapters of your own story. Real life wisdom is going to be located in stories of other people that you observe around you. And it's going to be located in stories that you hear from other people, that you maybe didn't have the chance to observe firsthand, but you have heard the experience of other people. All those are stories, real life stories and real world wisdom, passed down through stories. Only a fraction of real life and real world wisdom will be passed down in form of precise lessons and precise instructions. So if you cannot extract wisdom from fictional stories, how are you going to extract wisdom from real life stories? Because at the end of the day, they are stories. And by now, most of us know that this is why storytelling is one of the humanity's most unique and most important abilities. It is to tell a story. I mean, if we were not so good at learning true stories, if the format of a story was not the best way to convey wisdom, to convey life lessons, then there would be no Bible. There would be 10 commandments, and that would be it. What is the Bible? It's a collection of stories. And I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not the most educated person on different religions, but from what I have seen, all religions have stories. Stories that pass on the wisdom from one generation to the next. So it is because of this that I believe even today you have to consume fiction. You have to consume fiction if you're not a religious person. I'm proposing, that is, I'm talking about religion as the most obvious and the most impactful example of this. But in this video, I'm talking about the importance of consuming fiction in any form that you like. And I will tell you why did I remember to make this video. I have written, even when I first started my Instagram page, I believe I have written about it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, about the importance of reading fiction and why reading fiction is often better than any kind of self-help books that you could read. And it was recently on Existential Espresso that we had my friend, my brother, Nenad, write much better than I could ever articulate it, and much better than I ever did articulate it, write an essay on why you need to read fiction. So I'm kind of coming back to that, but I was reminded of it by watching the latest or pretty new show Beef. I watched it on Netflix, and it's not often that I watch new TV shows, but I have heard it got a lot of praise, and I didn't receive any life lesson from it. I still didn't even finish it, and I don't know when I will, because the schedule is getting pretty busy. But it just reminded me of how profound of an experience it can be to watch, to consume a fictional story. Of course, we will always say reading is the best, and that's I can touch on that this time, but it's a broader conversation. But just consuming that story, experiencing that story through a screen, those couple of episodes, it was a profound experience. Again, I, at this stage in my life, me, David, didn't receive any life lesson from it, but the writing is on such a high level, and the emotion is so raw that it reminded me, I didn't receive any particular lesson, but I have felt the story. And who knows how many people have gotten some lesson, have gotten some reminder have received a piece of wisdom from that story. So it just reminded me to talk about this, something that I usually talk a lot about in my private life. This is one of, I could say, with people that I care about, or people that I care sharing my opinion with. This is one of my favorite topics to discuss, of how amazing fiction is, how storytelling is important. And this show reminded me of it. And I will maybe say something that is controversial, and amongst my audience, who I know it's intellectual people who like to develop themselves intellectually. I think there are countless fictional stories that have convinced more people to be moral than Immanuel Kant, the great philosopher, with his moral instructions that are laid out so straightforward. Sorry, sorry, all philosophy lovers. I am a philosophy lover myself. I am a philosophy geek, but precisely laid out instructions and lessons on life, they are amazing, but nothing beats a good story. And now coming back to real life, if you are shying away from consuming fictional stories because you are tricked into this intellectual elitism of reading fiction is just entertainment, watching fiction is a waste of time, maybe listening to fiction in form of audiobooks or audio recorded plays, it's all entertainment and I only read nonfiction. If you have fallen into this trap of intellectual elitism, you are getting, I would say, you are getting out of shape in some way. And now this will sound like woo-woo language for some of you, but your soul, not only your mind, but your soul is forgetting how to extract wisdom from stories around you. Because once again, you are living out a story. Everything that is happening to you is a story. It should be. You should view it as a story. You should be able to construct a story, a narrative out of your life. How are you going to do that if you're never interacting with stories? Not only consuming them, interacting with them. Because that's what a good story provides. It feels like an interactive experience. So again, if you have fallen into this intellectual elitism trap and you are not interacting with stories, you are not reading stories, you are not watching any stories, how are you going to be able to construct the story of your life, to extract wisdom from the chapters of your life and from the life stories that you observe around you? Now when I look back on my life, there is as much wisdom and value in the lives of my loved ones who I have observed closely how their lives unraveled. There is as much wisdom there as in any and all books combined that I've read in my life. And I would say that I have read more books than the average person. I would say that I have been intellectually courageous enough to attack big books, difficult books, thinkers that are difficult to comprehend and to read. For example, Kierkegaard, one of my favorites. I mean, it's been how many? It's been at least 4 years now of reading him. He's one of my favorites, but it's still a massive challenge. A massive challenge. So I would say, again, maybe I'm stroking my own ego, forgive me for that, but I would say that I have read a lot. And I claim that there is equally or more wisdom in the life stories that I have seen unravel around me and in my own life story. That is, the wisdom is there if you are able to see it and if you are receptive of it. Not only able to see it, if you are prepared to see it, if you have left this intellectual elitism behind you, and understood that there is wisdom in people and in stories that are not maybe the most profound, most intellectual. I still haven't made a video talking about my love for anime, but when I share something on Instagram about anime, maybe some people assume that I have watched much more of it than I have, or that I am watching much more of it than I do. That's not the case. I don't dedicate a lot of my time to watching anything, any form of entertainment, which will hopefully change. I have now been really enjoying this beef series, but what I wanted to say about love for anime, the famous and infamous at the same time Naruto, I am not a big fan because I haven't watched it in its entirety, so I cannot claim to be a big fan, but I personally know people who are well educated and have achieved by society's standards a lot and have done well for themselves and can hold a highly intellectual conversation, and those people, some of their highest values are shaped by Naruto because they have watched it in their early teenage years. Those people have read, let's say, they have read, some of them, the Bible, some of them are not religious, some of them have read pretty much some of the required reading to be considered in the modern sense a intellectual person. So now this, I'm just throwing out this as an example. Once again, I cannot say that I am a fan of that show, but I'm giving this as an example of there is wisdom in something that at the first glance is not so profound. Just like those fictional stories, there is wisdom to be found in people and in life stories of people who are not the most educated people that you know, who are not the most intellectual or most articulate people that you know. But it is up to you to extract that wisdom. That's why I say, if you cannot extract wisdom from fictional stories, I don't know how can you extract wisdom from real life. You are then at the mercy of 5 rules, 10 rules, 12 rules, maybe. I don't know if this sounds like a knock on one particularly famous modern thinker. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But do you want to be at the mercy of steps and rules, and that is the only thing that helps you navigate through life? Or maybe you will read Haruki Murakami. Who knows how awful my pronunciation is, but whatever. Or are you going to read, just to touch on him because he's one of my favorite writers alive. That's an experience. For me, reading his novels, that's an experience. Are you going to dive into a world constructed by another human being that provides you with so many moments where you feel understood, where sometimes uncomfortable moments where a fear of yours is triggered by what you read on the page? Those are not always comfortable, but those are transcendental experiences. So all respect and praise for those who are able to eloquently present some life lessons in form of straightforward advice. All respect and praise to them. But there is much more to life than that. And there is much more to life wisdom than that. So once again returning to the Bible. And this is not me trying to, I don't know, promote Christianity or put it upon you, because I don't have religious affiliation with any religion. that is maybe a video that I should make, because I'm often asked about my relationship with God and my relationship with religion. I come from mixed religious family of mixed religions, and most of those people not being really religious, so I have had a lot of religious freedom. Again, it's a topic for another video. I'm just trying to say I keep going back to Bible as one of the most well-known and one of the most straightforward examples, not me trying to convince you what you should believe in. Although I'm more and more open and interested in having those discussions. Anyway, if all of life wisdom could be translated into straightforward advice, and if humans were such beings that they were receiving value best through straightforward advice, then there would be no Bible. There would be 10 commandments, or maybe there would be more commandments. However many someone would deem necessary. But there would be no Bible. There would be no collection of stories that has at this point transcended time. And I mean, talk about stories. What do we have from so many different cultures? I mean, look at the Hindus. Let's talk about rich culture, rich mythology. Talk about fascinating stories. That's something that I'm hoping during my lifetime to find. I want to say find the time, but there is always time if you want to make it, to educate myself more on Hinduism. So if someone is familiar with it, please share some reading recommendations. How many stories have different cultures left us that have imparted more wisdom than any list of steps, rules, commandments could impart, or maybe those lists can share wisdom and value, but how receptive we are as humans of it. It is almost a widely accepted fact that it is through stories that we learn the best. So that is pretty much my rant on fiction being necessary in your life, consuming fiction. Of course, once again, there is a strong case to be made that reading fiction is better for you than simply watching it. But let's have an agreement. I will make a separate video on this reading versus watching. But now let me just give you a sneak peek into what I have to say about this, and tell me if I've shared it already. Some of the greatest and most creative minds of our generation and of multiple previous generations have decided to create movies. So you want to tell me that there is nothing intellectual, deep, profound in the art of movies and shows and animated movies and shows? Some of the most creative, some of the most brilliant minds of the past, I don't know, 100 years have simply decided to do that. If I mean, Quentin Tarantino was a lot of his, not a lot, but I'm convinced that a couple of his movies started off as novels and just ended up being made into movies, although he always intended to be a filmmaker. But Quentin Tarantino, that there is only one that has been created from the culture that he was brought up in and his life experiences of watching movies. But I'm just saying that a mind of that caliber, if he was born in another time, he would be probably a great writer, or maybe a great playwright. So to claim that there is only the only type of intellectual and profound fictional story is the one that you read, and the only profound experience is when reading a fictional story, I I think that's ridiculous. And if you ask me that 6 years ago, I would be the one to say only reading, because I was in that trap of intellectual elitism, of fictional stories only knowing their value. But if you're going to do that, just read. I mean, David Lynch, is it David Lynch that directed and created Twin Peaks, and maybe not only directed but also written Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive? You're going to tell me that that man is not a bigger genius than 99.9% of writers who are alive today, and who have been alive, I don't know, in the past couple of 100 years. That man is a genius. So how can we have this debate of, if you want to be an intellectual, you just have to read fictional stories? Once again, I have allowed myself to rant on this more than I anticipated. As I said, I will make a separate video of this, because this is a debate that I want to open. I think it's not talked about enough. Not enough people are standing in defense of movies and TV shows as something more than cheap and superficial entertainment. Yeah, it's all entertainment at the end of the day, but not enough people are defending it for the brilliant minds that are standing behind those movies, behind those TV shows. It's not all in books. Sorry, maybe this is not what you expected from me, especially you who have been consuming my content for years now. And I usually, or 99% of time, talk about books. So maybe this is not what you expected, but it is what I think and feel, and what I strongly believe. Fiction. I hope I could convince at least one of you to give fiction a try. It's not all in, whether it's self-help, modern non-fiction, in, I don't know, Atomic Habits, and whatever is, I don't know what is today to the best, or the best seller of modern non-fiction today, or difficult and, let's call them, more high level reading, like philosophy. It's not all wisdom is in there. It's great to read those challenging books. It's great to read some of those straightforward books, but if you are talking about becoming a complete human being and collecting as much wisdom from life as you can, once again, that wisdom is going to be around you in those real life stories. I would say that fiction not only gives you wisdom, it also trains you to be able to see wisdom in real life stories, and just in real life, period, in life around you. So it's double the benefit. If you are one of people who are trying to find some justification for spending some of their time consuming fiction, here it is. Double benefit. It will give you wisdom, and it will train you to see wisdom in real life. Then, of course, we can get to that question of how to select good fiction. I don't know, you tell me. You recommend a fictional story that you think is full of wisdom. I don't care if it's a TV show, a movie, a cartoon, anime, comic book, manga, whatever. Share what is a fictional story that you think is full of wisdom. Now, maybe I should be the first, and let's conclude the video with that. What is a fictional story that I could recommend it? Oh, Meša Selimović, Fortress. The original title is Tvrđava, Fortress. That's a whole life. I don't know even why I was thinking for so long, because that's I think it's not fair for me to try to articulate how brilliant of a book that is. For me at least. I mean, it's in my region, in ex-Yugoslavia, respected as one of our best books for me. So I'm not alone in considering it a fictional story of great quality and great value. But for me, I think if it was written in English, it would be considered one of the greatest novels of all time. I strongly believe that. So that is one fictional story that maybe not the best recommendation, because I'm not sure you can find it, but that is something that even now, you see, it's difficult, because now I'm starting to think about it, and it's even difficult to get back to fully focus on finishing my point, because that's something that is a whole life placed in a book, and with that, and a life-altering experience reading it. But just to balance things out, as much as I enjoy that, as much as that was a life-altering experience for me, and as much as Dostoevsky's Notes from the Underground, also one of the most brilliant pieces of writing that I have ever read, could be number one. I have also extracted massive amounts of wisdom from anime, even though I don't spend a lot of time, and haven't spent in my life really a lot of time watching it. So that's it. Next time, maybe not very next video, but one of the next times, I could also maybe talk. There are some anime fans watching my videos. Maybe we could also have a video or a discussion about it. But as I promised, I will make a video expanding the debate on why some of the greatest minds of our time and of recent history are not writers, but creators of fictional stories. It is a conversation that we need to have, and that is not being started. I don't see that conversation being had by other lovers of fiction. If you cannot extract wisdom from fiction, you cannot extract wisdom from real life. That was my rant. Once again, mango, because I was too lazy, or let's use the excuse of being too busy to do real grocery shopping, since coming back to my base, so to say. This is not home, this is just something more than a temporary place to stay, sort of like a base. Mango. And guess what? I will be eating it while watching a fictional story. Beef. I highly recommend it. I would say brilliant writing. That's it. Thank you. Maybe there is a lot to unpack in what I said here. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. You see how I go on these rants, and they end up being much longer than I want, or than I anticipate. But it is what it is. You can give me feedback. And give me your your thoughts on this. I think there are a lot of points that could be touched on, and there are a lot of points that you could comment on and share your why you disagree, or what are your thoughts why you disagree. Share with your friends. Share with your friends that have maybe been reading too much nonfiction, or share with your friends that love fiction and that always tell you how, oh, there is this TV show that has taught me so much. Share with them. Maybe they will become a new regular viewer. Subscribe if you haven't already. And that's it. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you when you take the time out of your day to hear what I have to say. It means a lot. It means a lot, and I hope that I am able to repay you by giving some sort of value. Stay strong, love life, and never feel sorry for yourself. Thank you.